Well now, good evening and welcome to the Cheshire Matters 25th of the 5th 23 special. And we're not going to go through all the usual introductions, but we've got everybody in the house tonight, so just say hello, Stats.
Hello there, how are we?
I think we're okay. Stevie, the Raven. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, listeners.
Okay, and our man who is grazing in Greece, the Gazelle, a.k.a. Trevor Nichols. Say hello, Trevor.
Good evening, everybody, from very, very sunny Greece.
Do you know what? You sound so much clearer tonight. Is it all that grass?
Oh, I'll tell you what. I've never smoked as much grass in my life.
Right, okay. Well, we all know what this special is all about. We're talking about Indigenous identity. Now, what I want to do is I want to make a statement first before we open up the conversation. I speak to emphasize the pressing need to preserve our Indigenous identity, religion, traditions, and culture. Indigenous peoples, with their unique language, customs, and the ways of life in the constituent parts of the UK, are the custodians of a rich tapestry of knowledge and wisdom that has withstood the test of time. However, in the face of modern challenges and cultural assimilation, the survival of these invaluable cultural heritages hangs in the balance. Preserving Indigenous identity and culture is not just a matter of historical preservation, it is an urgent imperative for the well-being of our great British community of nations. Indigenous cultures hold profound ecological insights, sustainable practices, and deep spiritual connections to the natural world within the United Kingdom. Listening to the real people and not the out-of-touch politicians, their wisdom can guide us in addressing the pressing environmental, social, and ethical issues we face today. By protecting and celebrating Indigenous identity and culture, we acknowledge the fundamental rights of the Indigenous British peoples and honour their invaluable contributions to the human story of what is the United Kingdom and its impact globally. What I'm saying is, this is a call to action, urging us to safeguard our ancestral knowledge and traditions. We can do this through inclusive partnerships, education, and empowering our Indigenous communities. We can ensure that their vibrant tapestry of culture, that is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and when combined, the United Kingdom, remains resilient and continues to enrich our shared human heritage. Gentlemen, let us unite in this noble endeavour, recognizing that the preservation of our Indigenous identity and religion is not only a matter of justice and equality, but also a path towards a more inclusive, sustainable, and harmonious future for all. Do I get a round of applause?
Well, we've been surmising this for some time, actually. Well done, Jonathan. This is exactly what we want to be expressing. It's what we have been saying for quite some time. And I think that people are beginning to finally realise that there is a problem in this country in terms of immigration, which I'm sure we'll touch on in more detail.
Well, we're going to get Stats to open up some facts about a few things that are going on. Stats, are you willing to open up things right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm going to concentrate on, I think there's an attack on England, on its Indigenous identity, which is its ethnicity, its culture, and more recently, its borders. Now, in my opinion, this is coming from many different angles, from the global elites and the British establishment, that who are attacking our constitution, our democracy, our parliamentary and legal systems. It's coming from left-wing Marxist socialists, the ones who celebrate everyone else's culture while attacking their own and calling everyone far-right or greedy capitalists because they have no argument.
Yep.
Plus, now there's many who are fully on board and responsible for this cultural Marxism, Maoism, wokeism. I don't really know what to call it. I think maybe we need a new name for this, a new name for whatever's ripping through our institutions and almost every part of our daily life.
In my opinion... Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
In my opinion, it's infected our schools, our universities, our parliament, our justice system, entertainment, the police, employment, politics, science, medicine, sport, language, the church, media, big corporations, just to name a few. And it seems to be this pattern of white people are bad, Britain and England's history is evil, the good's always ignored, everything's racist or the fault of colonialism, everything, the countryside to the toilets are racist. No, statues have got to come down, names have got to be changed, history has to be erased, and money has to be paid. Everyone's oppressed, aren't they? They have no rights, apparently. And it's all the fault of the straight white man.
Yep.
And our kids are having bizarre things pushed on them non-stop by adults in school who should know better. And I just think many people have jumped on board with this or been dragged into the culture war by all these different identities that are now oppressed. So actually, this is quite a complex issue indeed and very difficult to combat.
And we're not the only ones suffering from it. And I'm going to give way to the Raven momentarily. But it's happening in Scotland. It's happening in Northern Ireland. And it's happening in Wales. And it always seems to be happening from within. It's almost as if we're being attacked from within. And I can tell you now, there are so many calls for the Archbishop of Canterbury to resign. People are asking to get rid of him because he seems to be basically trying to kill religion, Christianity in this country. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few points on what we've covered so far. There is a very common issue running through our system, and we have actually mentioned this a few times in the past. And there is a Royal Naval former officer called Brian Gerrish, who on the UK column has been exposing an organisation called Common Purpose, which for the past, I think, 25, nearly 30 years has been infiltrating our entire system in this country, from the NHS, the education system, the police, all the public services, councils, big business. It's horrendous. Now, Common Purpose is thought to be the new name for the Communist Party. These people engage in tactics to undermine our heritage. And to be quite frank, our system, as Mark was describing there, has been affected right throughout the system. In Western countries, it's not just this country, in Western countries, there is what appears to be a unified plan, if you like, to undermine Western traditions, culture, history, heritage, and also the democratic process, and actually remove anything in terms of public accountability and democracy. You only have to look at the local processes in terms of trying to get any accountability or clarity on any issue at local level or within your own area or beyond. There seems to be the same pattern of techniques which are utilised against any individual or groups of individuals.
The taxpayer, the honest, legal taxpayer within the country.
Well, yes. The thing is, Jonathan, this is what's taking place. It's no longer, this is not conspiracy theory. We've seen it for certainly the past 30 years and perhaps a little bit longer. But the very fact is this: we're seeing the fundamental structures, the foundations, the very foundations of our society
eroded.
Well, they're shattered to bits. Now, what's happening is this. I want to stay with this. Just bear with me for a couple of minutes. Now, what's going to happen is this. People are now waking up to the fact that all of the problems in society, whether it's crime, whether it's things taking place within our public services, unacceptable accountability, which is virtually null and void. We've all agreed by, off the podcast that by and large, if you write a complaint in any format to any organisation today, it is a complete and utter waste of time.
Takes too long.
There's no accountability. But I want to say this. Our country has been for 1,000 years plus based upon strict morals and ethics and traditional values based on the origins of Christianity established within this country for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, the country is turning away from that, and all of that is being undermined. I'm glad you just made the comment you did about the Archbishop of Canterbury, but our entire structure upon which our country and history and heritage is founded upon is being undermined. And it is, I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to echo what Mark has said, which is there is a fundamental cultural Marxist plan going on in this country to destroy this country.
That's right. From the inside.
within.
Yeah. From inside and outside. Can I bring Trevor in there? Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I mean, our culture is being attacked basically by immigration, because what's happening is you've got so many different cultures coming in, and for some reason, again, we have this, the minority seem to rule the majority. Don't know why. Now, there's only the government can stop this. Will it?
No, they won't.
One of the reasons, Trevor, excuse me for interrupting. One of the reasons is that in terms of the drive for equality, what they are doing is they are putting these minorities into positions of authority. Yeah. And those people are exercising that authority in their favor and their favor of their race. And people will...
It's Sadiq Khan.
Yeah. And people will say, right, you know, what are you? Are you right out of the Ku Klux Klan? No, I'm not. But if you put a Muslim in charge of a police unit, he will favor Muslims because that's his religion. And he will favor those people. And I am pretty sure that if we were to do research in this country, we would find out that that is true. I mean, how many police did anything about those grooming gangs? Why didn't they do anything?
Well, equally, Labour-controlled councils, the majority.
Exactly. Now, it comes down to some fundamental points.
Political, yes.
Yep. It comes down to some fundamental points that we have to make. And I'm sorry for interjecting there, Trevor. I just had to say that we've got to get these people out of the positions, because that's why we're having the problems with the trans activists, because we've got trans people in control of certain areas. We've got LGBTQ plus, QWERTY, whatever they are. We've got them in positions of actually controlling the agenda also for education. Got to get them out. We've got to root them out. We've got to show the people, and we've got to say to them, that's who is in charge. That's the person making those decisions on that, and show them up. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said, there is only the government can stop it. That's a fact. Will it? No. It seems like it's got no intentions for whatever the agenda is.
Yeah.
All the previous prime ministers, you've got Cameron, Johnson, and now useless Sunak. They've all said that they're going to control this immigration. We've got Brexit, so we have now got total control over that. Well, sorry, the European immigration, but it's just not happening, is it? There has to be an agenda, and it's going to, let's face it, Labour are going to get in next time. I should imagine. I mean, it's not written in stone yet, but I should imagine it might do. God help us.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the strain that it's putting on all our services.
It's immigration that's one of the main problems. It's immigration. And they haven't been telling the truth about it.
Yeah, I mean, and basically you've got to stand up and you've got to face up and just say that's what it is. Because we've got that many different cultures coming into the country.
Yep.
And basically, as we've said a million times, the minority is starting to rule the majority.
That's
and
right.
It's the same with the different types of cultures.
Yeah. Will you give way? Yeah. Will you give way to stats, please?
Certainly. Yeah.
Stats. The Gazelle yields to you, sir.
I do applaud the Gazelle. Thank you, sir. Now, as I said a minute ago, this is going to be hard to combat because it's coming from so many different angles on so many different fronts. I think I've tried to work out the reason why we're under attack. And I think it might be the fact that we are just England and the rest of the UK. We're in the way of objectives, whether it be this total global governance. So they attacked our systems with Brexit and 2019 election. But believe it or not, maybe our system's better than we think, because on both those occasions, it held firm against all the odds. And since then, there's been non-stop attacks. You've also got the Marxists who want to redistribute the wealth and power, and the wokeists across, and not just across class. Now it's race, gender, sexual identity, religious lines. There's going to be more and more added to that, I'm sure. And then there's people who just, it's the fact they've been led to believe that they're oppressed in some way and they're being held back. Now, Trevor says the government might be able to fix this, but to do that, we need to change them. We had a parliament which has been infiltrated. They turned against the democratic instruction from the public. They've increased the population. And we can say immigration, but I think we should say it as it is. The population is increasing far too fast. Yep. We cannot cope with this. Our infrastructure won't allow it. We had a parliament who allowed draconian fake COVID laws and a parliament who claim they're sovereign when in fact it's the people. We need to change this whole political system. These political parties are no longer working for the working class. Labour are not interested with the working class. Conservatives don't know how to be conservatives. It's just this Westminster bubble, and no one is happy politically. And we've got to try and find a way around this. But when it's coming from so many angles, our own establishment, the globalists, the communists, everyone, all these identitarians, we've got a massive, massive task on our hands here.
Oh, it's huge. I worry. Yeah. I genuinely worry, and I say this to both you, the Gazelle, and to the Raven. I genuinely worry what's going to happen for our children, because if they develop the same kind of attitude as, say, that little idiot Mizzy, then, who just thought that he could just walk into anybody's homes and create havoc in the way that he did. He is the son of an immigrant, and he has grown up not understanding our values. So he just thinks that he can just go out and do what he's going to do and get away with it. And in actual fact, he has in certain ways. Now, I'm hoping that guy is actually going to walk into the wrong house or walk in with the wrong people, and he's going to get an absolute hammering, because that is the only language that he understands, strength.
Yes.
I just want to say that we have a massive problem in this country in terms of the fact that our entire system is infiltrated to a large extent with a heavy contingent of Marxists. Now, when it comes to things like St. George's Day, it's a very muted exercise in terms of the fact it's hardly celebrated. In 2015, it was the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta. And the fact of the matter is, nothing was done by and large across the country that I could see to mark this occasion, which is the foundation of our freedoms, rights and privileges. Now, the fact of the matter is this: anybody who now exercises any form of patriotism or nationalism, you are vilified as a little Englander, racist, all kinds of things. It's appalling. This is the only country in the world that I can see where this takes place. Maybe it happens in America and one or two other places now, but by and large, it seems to be rife in this country that if you talk about nationalism or patriotism, you are some kind of weirdo. You're far right and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Truths are now being, untruths are now being sold as truths, and it's got to stop. Our heritage is being rewritten, as Mark said. And to be quite honest with you, there is a fundamental problem in our society where we've got people in all sorts of positions in public office who not only lack leadership. The reason they lack leadership, by the way, is because they've lost all sense of morals and ethics.
Well, they've got no moral compass whatsoever.
There is no moral compass, Jonathan, but there's no traditional values. This country has been led, and I will say led, for the past 50 years, away from its traditional foundations of being a Christian country. And now we've got people trying to they have all sorts of committee meetings and groups and all kinds of things set up to try and establish why the society we live in is falling apart. It's by design. There are people operating against the churches, our values, morals, ethics.
And that's from their own people. That's from their own people. Okay.
And it's got to stop. It's time people rose up.
Will you yield, sir? I've been watching too many American congressional hearings. Will you yield to the Statsman?
Yes, of course I will. I'm a gentleman.
Of course you are. Yeah, but you were the Viking that actually came across and actually stole and plundered our gold from those poor churches in Lindisfarne. We know your
style. Move on, quickly move on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Go ahead.
And he's only a gentleman at weekend, he's not.
Yeah, that's right. He's wild, man. Okay, go ahead, Stats.
My question is, what are we going to do to try and combat this? Now, someone mentioned education. That's got to be the first one. This decolonization, it's not, is it? It's the de-Anglicization, as Carl Benjamin quite correctly put it.
Yeah,
it is an attack on who we are in our country. I've got a few ideas. I think the working class now really need to all come together now and stand up to this political establishment and this global order.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they were fully Marxist or globalist, but they will use bits of capitalism and bits of Marxism.
Oh, they'll utilize any of the tools to do it.
Which is power,
yeah,
and to rule. This tribal beckoning, I think it's holding us back. I think, as I've already said, Labour and the Tories are not what they used to be. It doesn't matter what they claim to stand for. A vote for them is the establishment's agenda.
Indeed.
I think in schools and even adults now, we've really got to stand by our constitution and our values, or we're going to lose them. It's that simple. These left and right labels aren't really helping, although we do need to say it sometime because there's no other way to explain things. But we need to now return to what made England great. This is the very thing they want to destroy, our institutions. Everything we've done for the world should be celebrated. Now, it's going to be difficult with the institutions because how can we support something and defend something that's literally turned against us? These were once the envy of the world. Now they're turning against the people. We need proper English values. As I said, our history and our constitution, everything we've given to the world needs to be embraced. And this includes the people who come to live in this country. They should live by our values.
Correct.
I'm sorry. This is good. This might offend some people, but we need to forget multiculturalism, as that is not a recipe for success.
No.
The English way is, and it's been proven, our culture and our country. And a country without borders, by the way, is not a country.
Yeah, and to all those people, Mark, that say we should have a country without borders, I say take the windows and the doors off each of their properties.
But without, as I said, without borders, we're not a country. We need everyone singing from the same hymn sheet and pulling people together because that's what breeds success.
And I've got an important injection here, if I may.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think we need more Morris dancing.
Yeah, but that's our heritage. You're quite right.
Twerking.
Yeah, rather than the twerking.
That's what the kids are doing now. They're twerking. It's disgusting.
Yep. Go ahead, Mark.
We don't want twerking. We want more Morris dancing.
You were in full flow. Carry on, sir.
I could go on all
day. I'm sorry, I do apologise.
I'll round it off now. As I say, we need to correct the correct values in school. There should be no protected identities at all. There's no equality. The Equality Act's been abused by Marxists. It's not. We need to celebrate our history, what we've achieved, and we should. There's plenty of examples like Magna Carta, Peasants' Revolt, the Bill of Rights, 1688, all the stuff. Our transition into a constitutional monarchy and how we put measures in place to combat tyranny. There's a quote by Karl Marx.
Yeah,
you can look that up.
Okay,
England will not bend to it.
Steve,
and we need proper evidence-based learning in school. None of this feelings and identities and ideologies.
Get rid of all that crap.
Yeah, go on, Steve.
Steve, last comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say this. We have a situation now in this country. Mark has touched on a subject that both he and I, along with sort of constitutional rights, share a big concern about. I've mentioned it before, speaking as I did in the 2015 election debates about education system and what's being taught at very young ages with regards to sex education, which I think is appalling. We have a situation now where all of our institutions have been hijacked. There's nothing wrong with the institutions as they have been set up historically, but they've been hijacked and re-engineered, and that's what Marxists do. They re-engineer things.
They put their own people in their positions. That's what they do.
That's right, Jonathan. What they do, they hijack things for their own agenda. Now, Mark asked a question there, which is this: how do we change this? Well, it's going to take a little bit of effort, to say the least, but it's doable because I think people are now waking up to the very fact that they are going to feel guests
in their own country.
Now, including to the point that they will be frightened to death to express a viewpoint or discuss their own history and heritage and their own identity. That's where we are at, where we have a nation so frightened now of expressing their own personal identity
or feelings about what's going on, because they're frightened of the thought police coming in on them.
And discussing that. And Mark did ask a question, which is this: how do we change this? Now, we've touched on the fact that the Parliament has been hijacked. These people, Liberals, Labour, Conservative, the main parties are all basically operating for globalists. So
a prime example of that, Steve, is quite simply, you have Stella Creasy coming out and saying women can have penises. And then you have the next thing, you have Annalise Dodds coming on and saying women don't have penises. Okay?
Yeah, well,
they're fighting amongst themselves. Get rid of it.
Nonsense. If those people want to have this sort of tete-a-tete about arguments like that, it just proves that our Parliament has reached the point of near lunacy. It's ridiculous. Now, the point is this: we have to get together now as a nation. We have to get together in communities and cities across this country. We have to get nationalists and patriots together, traditionalists who believe in morals, values, ethics, traditional values, the Christian way, the Christian church, our constitution, our proper ways of educating the children, and proper social opportunities for all. And we have to go back to the fundamental roots. We have to have a new party set up by people who believe in everything in this country always has been and always should be.
Indeed. Trevor, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I've just got a load of things in my ear then.
I know. I know.
I do apologise.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, Trevor.
No, I totally agree with what Steve said. Exactly. Okay. I mean, how can you disagree with Steve? It's as simple as that. You know, are we going to change it?
Well, yeah, we're going to give it a go.
No, we're going to give it a go. Of course we are. But have I got the faith that Steve's got? Not really.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately,
as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to give an in to Statsman, and then I'll wrap things up and we'll say good night. Go ahead, Stats.
Yeah. I think there's one thing we need to be doing, and we need to be opening up a conversation about how this land belongs to us, and do we have the right to maintain our homeland, like the Arabs and the Jews and the African tribes, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I think we need to start pushing this now and saying, "Come on."
Well, if we don't, and I will wrap this whole conversation up. If we don't, what's going to happen is there is going to be civil unrest in this country, because although we are slow to react, when our backs are against the wall, we do react. And we are very, very clever as a race of people, the English, the Scottish, the Irish, Northern Irish, and the Welsh. And I'm not saying that the Irish aren't clever, because they are, but they are experiencing their problems right now. Go ahead, Steve. I'm going to give you a quick yield to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just going to say one sentence. Every man and woman in this country has a duty to their children and their grandchildren and beyond to defend this land, our heritage, our history, and our Christendom for them going forward, including their democracy and liberty.
Indeed. The Irish are experiencing their own problems, and they are fighting back. You can see it. They are sick of the immigration. They are sick of the people being foisted upon them, which they know is going to change their whole social structure. And they've had enough. They've had enough of it. We've had enough of it. We have to actually be pointing this out to people, educating them and saying to them, listen, this is what your own people in Parliament are doing to you. They're not helping you. They're actually causing you more problems. The reasons why you cannot get a GP appointment, because of the pressure of immigration is putting on. Right? Where's all the money going? Where do they find the money to actually go out and pay for all these migrants coming into the country? Where's this money?
If I may, just jump in there. Could we do a check on regards of Gloucestershire, Worcestershire, or wherever these top MPs live, Rees-Mogg or whoever they are?
And
Let's check if they've got the same amount.
Indeed. Well, there's
immigration is what we get.
There's a
the
chap,
hotels, etc.
There's
I
a
don't think
chap.
they do.
There's a chap in the House of Lords who was the guy. I'm trying to think of his name, Lord Devington, I think, or Lord of Devington. Or if I've got it wrong, I'm sorry. But he created Migration Watch, and he's been keeping a check on what's been going on. And that guy recently did a speech in the House of Lords, and that man is not happy at all. And quite literally, there is an element of suspicion in which the finger can be pointed at successive governments to say they're not helping the people. They are not doing the people any good. And the people of this country have got to wake up. So when Mark says, what do we do about it? What we do is we keep on sending the message out, try to get the facts out, and say to people, don't vote for these people anymore. Stop voting for them, because they are destroying you. They're destroying your identity, your traditions, your religion. They're doing it. And they're doing it right in front of your face, and they're trying to keep you distracted. Think about it, because it's your children, it's your future. And it's the future of your children's children as well.
We need to know where these immigrants are being housed.
Yeah, and they need to go. We don't need them. They came illegally. Get rid. Simple as that.
Yeah, but
Get rid. People are frightened
to know if they're going into conservative communities.
They're not.
Because I know for a fact they're going into the north. The north is being hammered with them.
Yeah, that's it. And because they don't care.
We need to highlight that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your consideration on those subjects and the discussion that took place. We're going to end that now. We're going to say good night, because you hear that? I'm calling it in, right? We can't get around a digital round from the man in Greece, but Steve.
Yes, hello.
Okay, that's the message. All right, then, let's just say good night. We know exactly what it's going to be. Here we are. Well, Statsman, thank you very much for your interjections. I'm sorry to be so bold about certain things, but they are reasonable. Go ahead, sir. Say good night.
Good night, all. It's been a pleasure again. And goodbye to all our lovely listeners.
Indeed. The Raven, say good night, or goodbye, or sayonara, Auf Wiedersehen, pet.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling upon you all from John O'Groats to Land's End to do the right thing and start expressing your views, start campaigning, and start to defend your history, heritage, and country for your children and grandchildren. Goodbye. Have a great week.
Yep. Yeah. And to our man in Greece, lovely people, the Greeks. I love them.
Oh, unbelievable. I totally agree with the Raven in leather, actually.
Okay. What's this? A new love affair? A new bromance?
Yeah, because I've seen his. Well, I've got a couple of pictures earlier. I don't want to go into it, but yeah. But the leather suits you there, Steve. The leather suits you.
I disagree.
Be quiet.
So I'll say good night. I'll say good night from Greece, and thank you everybody for listening as always.
Okay, nil point. To all those world orders that are trying to destroy us. Well, thank God that's all over. We've got it out of our systems. And this is just the first part of these specials. There's going to be 2 others. Isn't that right, Stats?
But there might be more, actually.
Could go on for hours and hours, knowing the Raven.